I can't take it anymore. I believe I've been sold a lie which I foolishly believed for such a long period of time. And unfortunately, I believe many, many, many other people have been sold the exact same lie. After countless hours of watching various people debate the topic of God, and even more hours spent reading different books, not just books about God, but books about philosophy, I have come to the undeniable conclusion that God does exist. Now, many atheists will try to tell you, oh, there can't be this magical man up in the clouds. That's not possible. And I even remember believing that exact same train of thought, that there could not be this magical man in the clouds. Oh, these dumb religious people, they don't get it. They don't understand that the science disproves this. They don't understand that the evolution disproves that. They don't understand. They don't get it. But what I didn't realize was I was being ignorant. I was ignoring their arguments. And only once I started getting into the gym, once I started lifting weights, once I started reading different books, once I started trying to meditate and being more open and trying to really improve my life, did I ever actually realize that maybe I was wrong about God, that maybe, just maybe, religious people had it right. Now let me take you back to the beginning of the universe. All of the scientific data, the second law of thermodynamics, and even more, all point to the Big Bang being the exact moment that the universe was created. But I kept on thinking to myself and watching people talk about who banged it. And that's when I came to the discovery that whatever caused the Big Bang must have been outside of time, not made of material, all powerful and extremely intelligent in order to make everything happen. These are all attributes that the God that is described in the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah, they all have these attributes. So then I began to think, and that's just to make a long argument short. There could be much more said on that topic. Of course, this realization didn't turn me into a believer overnight. I mean, there's so many different claims from different religious groups about who God is and how they know God, and God gave us this testimony and God gave me this testimony. But in that realization that, okay, well, there has to be some sort of creator that created everything, I went from an atheist to an agnostic. But I was not a Christian, I was not a Muslim, I was not Jewish yet. I didn't believe their claims. And here's the truth: no matter what worldview you hold, at some point you are going to need faith. Even atheism requires faith. Every single worldview requires faith. That realization started making me even more, okay, well, if every worldview I know requires faith, you have to believe in something. Even atheism, as much as they will love to deny that claim, it is true once you actually think about it. If everything requires faith, and I know these attributes about God, what religions best line up with that? So I quickly eliminated Hinduism and Buddhism because of their opinions that the universe is eternal, that I found to be easily disprovable by science. That left me with the big three: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Now, which one of these religions has it right? I have my Quran and I have my Bible, and I'm just reading all of these different religious texts, and one of these three has to have it right. So let's look at the center point of Christianity, the resurrection. And let's see what everybody thinks, from Christians, Jews, and Muslims, about the resurrection. Jesus really did exist. Most of the scholarly consensus is that Jesus was a real person. Now, if he wasn't what he claimed to be, how did he start the most influential religion to ever come into the world? Christianity, which is the bedrock and foundation of Western society as a whole, all begins at the resurrection. This carpenter only did ministry for 3 years, and yet we still celebrate and worship him 2,000 years later. He wasn't a great ruler like Muhammad was. He wasn't. He was a simple carpenter from a small town who never traveled more than 200 miles, never led an army, never led anybody into battle. He was a simple man who taught that he was the Son of God, and if he was wrong, he was either evil or a lunatic. And we know the tomb was empty because if the tomb was not empty, the Jewish leaders who hated Jesus, who crucified him, would have just marched his body out in a giant parade, and that would be the end of Christianity forever. But we know that that did not happen. Thirdly, all of the disciples, except for maybe one or two, were punished severely for their belief in Christ as the Messiah. Some of them were even crucified upside down in order to mock Christianity. Tell me, how many people you know would go through horrible punishments for a lie that they know is a lie? If they were really lying, then they would have renounced their faith in Christ. No, that didn't happen. Let me free. And they would have been free, but no. They decided that it would have been better to die than to renounce their faith in Christ. That has to mean something, and not just die, but suffer. Some of them were torn apart by lions. Some of them crucified upside down and left to suffer. They'd rather die than renounce their faith. And finally, the explosive growth of Christianity from Jerusalem, which was the city where Jesus was executed. Now, if he was a false teacher, if he didn't really resurrect, why did the church explode out of the very same place? The very same place that he was executed. Why would people believe him? Why would the Jewish people give up their ancient traditions, which they held to dearly, which were enforced by laws such as the Sabbath? Why would they give up these things if Jesus did not actually rise from the dead? It makes no sense if you think about it, other than Jesus really was who he claimed to be. This was just a snapshot of my journey to faith. How I traveled, how I ended up here talking to you. Of course, I would love to go more in depth into all of these topics, and I wanted to condense this down and make this video quick so that you can get your mind turning. I left information out so that you can go and honestly investigate those things, and I'm going to drop links to debates and great books on this topic below. With that being said, if you're somebody who's on self-improvement, somebody who's consistent with the gym, reading, meditation, you like Hamza, you like Jordan Peterson, you like David Goggins, that's great, and I love that for you. But it's time to open your mind to more possibilities. These men, they're not afraid of new thoughts. It might be a hard spot for you. It might suck. I mean, for me, especially coming from atheism to faith, it was not an overnight transition. It took honest investigation, but it could just be the most important and influential decision that you can make in your life. And I know for me, that was exactly the case.